Hey everyone, Egman here with two guests. We've got Yonas over here,
Yeah.
and we've got Russell over
Way,
here.
way over
Yeah,
yonder.
I don't,
Hello.
I don't know what's going on with my room over here. There's some kind of disturbance here, but yeah, we've got Russell and Jonas. It's been a minute since our last team talk, mostly because of me just being on the road and subsequently on the toilet after from sickness and stuff. So yeah,
Okay.
yeah, 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 yeah,
He's
yeah.
looking. He's looking at me about
No,
being on
well,
the
the
toilet.
toilet is that way.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Convenient.
yeah.
Convenient.
But it's yeah, I'm feeling better. It's good to be kind of more active now again. And yeah, we've got a lot to talk about. OP10's been I think really refreshing format. For some people, maybe a little bit too refreshing when it comes to decisions. But I've talked to Jonas a lot already. Russell, I haven't seen or talked to you in a minute. How you doing?
Great. Chilling. Character crisis, but I'm happy to have it. So,
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are going through that, and just to make it more, make everyone feel better. Like most people still don't know what deck they like right now, so I don't think it's even an issue if you are
yeah.
going through a crisis through that. I think that's really fun, but I also know that we've got four large events around the world for the English version this weekend, so any kind of confidence is good confidence, I think, if
hmm
you're going in any of those. So Jonas and I will be at Pasadena. Russell, you'll be at the Booster Box one, correct?
Yeah, Virginia Beach.
Virginia Beach, yeah,
Yeah.
or Beach, yeah. So that's two in North America, and then there's two in Europe. We've got one in the UK and one in Greece as well. So
hmm
just a lot. Again, this is a new format in the sense that we get these restrictions as well as a new set come out. So a bunch of new cards that people are testing, and a lot's kind of all over you're just everywhere with this format right now. So Jonas, how have you kind of approached what this kind of beast of a format looks like right now?
It's like touching a different part of my brain compared to most One Piece formats because we always just have the Japanese meta to work with.
Yeah, yeah.
We've had a few moments where we've had like ban lists that have shaken things up, but we've always kind of had like a previous core of like good decks we know existed in Japan. Like some ban lists affected it, but we kind of have to work with that. And I've been doing the same thing here. Like despite the fact that Dofi's a lot worse. And that's mainly about it. I mean, like Moria and Ice Age are like definitely gone, but
Hmm.
I was kind of using like, oh, back in the Japan, like Usopp was very good, Blackbeard was quite good,
Yeah.
and during this upcoming ban list, or this new format, you kind of have to expect those decks to be relatively strong. But we also just have a bunch of new decks that we haven't really seen in Japan, like Shanks,
Hmm.
Purple Luffy, Red Green Smoker, that kind of came up in EBO1, or EBO2. So we kind of have all those new decks, and it's really hard to figure out how those decks kind of play against each other without like defined lists. So
Yeah, yeah, and it's gonna be like Wild Month, and then we get EBO2, and then we get OP11 in June, and we also get the Star deck. So it's just like a completely new, like we won't have solid footing for a while. I
mhm.
feel like in comparison to what we have, and then we're on a timer, right? Like this time next year, likely we are going to be caught up or close to caught up with Japan on releases, and then we'll be just in our own like global card game too, which I think is really exciting. So, Russell, how's your quest to find a leader or a playstyle for this meta gone?
Uh, Perfectly fine. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I'm really enjoying a lot of my games. Um, Even games where like, since I'm not playing Bonnie anymore, most of the games you lose with Bonnie, you have a 9 card hand and you have 3K in counter power,
Yep.
and then or like I wouldn't. It's not that you don't have agency in how the game plays out, but like you're a lot less likely to add that or like, to get there,
Hmm.
especially with the release of OPO10. You added 2 non-searchable cards at nearly a 4 of for both. It's
Yeah.
like a 3 and a 4, like 3 Tashigis, 4 Tashigis, 3 smokers,
Yeah.
and you generate game plans around cards like that don't necessarily consistently hit. And I do feel like most other decks, especially the ones that like we'll speak to in the future, they have that there, right? So now my new testing has been abandoning Bunny and
Hmm.
playing decks that have 1 drop searchers that don't cost an extra Don and don't turn sideways and like influence the board state, right? And so I'm having like a lot of like, oh, this is fun. So is this, and so is this, and then I'll play it into a bad matchup, and I'm like, there's one bad matchup, sure, moving on my day. But
And then
overall,
and then you lose to a second deck, and you're like, wait a minute, like.
yeah. As soon as I take a second loss to a popular deck, I was like, all right, I don't know about this leader, man. Like, we
Yeah,
gotta
yeah.
we gotta keep searching, we gotta keep hunting. But overall, I like it. The ban list, the rotation, everything that got announced, phenomenal.
Hmm.
And I think I'm getting reminiscent of the Digimon month meta where we had the release of an extra boost or something that remember when I was using Terriermon and it unlocked me for 4 weeks, and then we had mulligans in that week.
Yeah,
it was the most fun month of my life. And then we had a set release right after, and I'm pretty sure that was the 09 one with Digimon, where they just
it was the one with X antibody, which it was
just, and then that ruined the game and I quit.
The game, for better for worse, so
I feel like it's that, and in a healthy, we don't know what's going to happen way, which leads to both volatility as well as it shows the strongest players, the strongest deck builders, as well as the strongest, most disciplined testing circles will come out on top, in my opinion, including myself, because I'm going to be trying to get off of Bonnie, so I'm rediscovering what I'm trying to do in this game anymore. But
and I've noticed that this isn't, I don't think this is bad either, but this is the first time where I feel like people are more this is my spice, I got to keep it secret, or which I think it's fine, right? These are competitive events, and I want you to I don't want anyone to feel like they're losing advantage by sharing their deck list or anything like that, but it's really going to show people who are with their testing group doing a lot of testing. I agree that the game is just super fun for me right now. It's been fun to see all these different matchups that we have to approach. Generally speaking, most decks have one or two pretty kind of unwinnable, but most other things I feel like you have a chance to win a lot of games, and even the games you lose I feel can come down to a 1K or 2K at times. It's nothing. I rarely feel like I'm blown out in a lot of my matches that I'm testing, and the ones that I go into the matchup knowing that. So anything besides that is a surprise and a welcome one.
Yep. It's naturally been a more aggressive format in my testing compared to before. Not Dofi's obviously a very aggressive deck, but it's aggressive in a different way, where a lot of people are just racing each other. And when that happens, obviously the game is way more exciting, which I love in general.
Yeah.
But also games are naturally just way closer. So I just love that kind of gameplay, and I just want I missed the OP01 through OP04, just we're racing each other. It really isn't much in terms of hard control. And that's a really fun exciting thing compared to Lucci. I don't really miss Ice Age Moria personally. So.
Sure.
Not at all.
Yeah, and this is less of a priority, but I associate myself more of a spectator, especially since I do a lot of commentary and live streams and stuff. And specifically as even just a viewer who are watching these games, I think it's just as mentioned, they're a lot closer. It's most scenarios people are either person can win. You are a little bit determined on as kind of Russell said, some decks are really determined on if you find your unsearchable cards, which is a little bit luck sacky at times, but just the fact that most situations you can have cards or game plans to try to get out of it, or at least get some advantage from it, means that it's very unexpected. It's really cool to watch, and there's some kind of explosive moments that I think it's just great for the card game too. So in general, I think this is probably one of the best formats I think we've had in this game since launch, I think, which has been a lot of fun.
I can't think of any off the top of my head.
Okay, I thought you were gonna say you were just gonna rattle 3 immediately. But
I'm very biased, so whenever I do great, I'm this is the best format.
Yeah.
So.
This format's blatantly the best format ever. Top 3 events in a row, and top 4 every time.
Yeah. So I do think that is a good point, though. Just because the format is fun, it does make it a little bit trickier for more competitive leading players too. So I do understand when you have to concede bad matchups, or it's harder to especially right now, who knows what's going to happen this weekend. I'm going to probably ask both you guys who do you think is going to win I guess Pasadena, besides you guys, right? You're going to win Pasadena and get into it in that order. Russell's going to win Virginia, but if you guys had to have emergency call and dip out of the tournament, right? What do you think is your chance for win one of these 2 regionals?
Virginia, I have Shanks winning.
Okay.
I know a lot of people are going to be bringing relatively slow decks, and I think if someone just plays aggro Shanks, it might just end up being a little bit too much of an issue.
Real quick, and this is a big difference. Virginia is a 2-day event, right?
Yep.
With top cut, so that does make a difference because it is.
Shanks will have best of 3 to get through its inconsistency issues.
Pasadena, Wild West.
Oh, that could be anything.
512
Yeah.
Swiss best of one could be different. So that is a good thing. Mentioned.
Love that. That's where the banger decks make top 8.
Yes,
That's true. I'm
exactly.
excited for a
They
fun
just
one.
like every dog has his day scenario.
For the dark horse for Pasadena, I'll just hope for green yellow walk. I
Okay,
think that deck's super fun. And
gotcha.
if it high rolls, it high rolls. So
Sure. I think that's fair. What about you, Russell? What are your thoughts?
I think Blackbeard's winning Virginia Beach.
Okay.
Not that I'm playing it. I'm potentially playing it, but I think that like what it does and how it influences the game is like extremely consistent when all you need to do is go like X2 in Swiss and make top 64. And then you have top 32 runs. It's an extremely consistent deck. Like overall, I just think this is a strong deck, especially into like a 2 out of 3 meta. And then if you run into the aggro player who like got through top 64 and then they run into you, you just kind of accept it. And then they have the casino build with like the I bid 6 million berries and all that. Yeah, if they hit that plus a finger pistol, it doesn't matter what you're playing. Go on, get out of here.
Next game.
You take the turn off. You need to play like Burgess plus like a Lafitte search. This game's over. So I think it's a really good deck right now.
Yeah, and so for both events though, you think for
no, it's California. For some reason, y'all always have like yellow or red winning.
Okay.
If not, I'll go out on the limb and be like, it's Dofi. Dofi's gonna
gotcha.
go 9-0.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I think Shanks is gonna win one of them. I just based on percentage of people who are on it and how consistent the deck can be in a best of 3 format. So I'll say that's probably the one for Virginia. For here in Pasadena, it depends if Justin's playing an L because he always wins with an L. Like
Justin's too powerful.
He's too powerful, even with or without it. But if I was to say, maybe Smoker, maybe someone's gonna have a good day with Smoker. We're gonna look at some deck lists that we believe in right now in a little bit too. But I think Smoker stocks are the highest they're going to be in this format, and I think they're going to continue to dwindle as we get farther into OP10. So when the stocks are high and more people are on the deck, I think it has the highest chance to do well this weekend.
Yeah,
I should.
When we speak to like the deck doing well, I would say like all these decks that we're discussing, there's such a drastic change in variance, not of if you hit the card or not. It's like literally this is aggro Shanks. This is not running the bend. Like this is running this package and it's all rush. And like if you compare that Shanks to like, oh, this one's running Newgate and like late game cards and Building Snake. It's like night and day deck.
Yeah.
Between like what's happening and then like what you're running into. And then I would say that like about Smoker, because I saw a few people did they won their store regionals with aggro Smoker, like no 8-drop kid, right? And once I saw the introduction of that variant, that's when I started testing extremely like aggressive decks right into Shanks, because it's obviously the most popular deck in the room. And that's when I was like, oh, these fun like 4 life leaders that I have left and right are stomping Shanks, but it's gonna get checked by like Blackbeard, Dofi, or Zoro should I run into it. And so it's like,
yeah, I think that's fair. And that is also a really good point, that this is, I feel like the first time in this card game where several leaders can be running like different packages, which generally doesn't happen. Like in OP3, like the best example is like, oh, you playing the Straw Hat Nami package or the Ezo package. Like that was it. Like that was the only, the difference was minuscule, right? Despite what some people might say.
You played a vanilla on your 4-down turn with Whitebeard, and you played another vanilla on
your 6 turn with Whitebeard.
Yeah.
It's very minimal. So to have like different play styles in general, we've seen like even like Purple Luffy have like the Doflamingo package, which I'm not the biggest fan of. I want to, but I don't believe in it right now. But that it's just cool to see that innovation in different builds. Because if you queue up against Purple Luffy, you're like, oh, all right, this is aggressive. I need to change my hand size for that to be maybe the defender, and then they end up being the bigger defender. That just kind of warps your gameplay scenario. So, which also means like if you have like a spicy build or something, I think it is important that if you can keep it secret, you do run the factor that you get an advantage just for sitting down against an opponent who thinks you're playing a little different play style. So I think that's really fair.
Yep. I think that deck building right now is in this weird spot because I think we talked about this before, but when you're testing for these old formats, the things you really need to be good at are like tuning decks by changing a couple cards that you know from existing metas, or building like super duper rogue decks that target a very known meta. I think Russell's very good at building rogue decks to target known metas personally.
I agree.
But right now we just have to like build like completely independent cores, and we just don't really know which core is technically best. So we're kind of building whole different like sub archetypes of things, not really knowing which one's the best one. And we can't really build these like these random rogue decks with targeted metas because we just don't know what we're playing against. So
and from my experience, I don't. Even when this meta is more known, which we're approaching, but we're not there yet, it's very wide. It's a very wide meta. So it's difficult to be able to say, we can, maybe this is a good segue to, this is going to be a tier list that I made willy-nilly today on stream, but we'll talk about it, and you guys can judge with Yonas and Russell on my placements for it. But strictly speaking, I think the decks that I have in tier 0.99 and tier 1, I think are going to be 50%, maybe 60% of the meta of people, like the amount of people who are on those leaders is going to be probably around that percentage-wise in any kind of event this weekend. And then from there, the numbers drop. But even then, like to have 6 different decks as like, I'm used to seeing like, okay, well, Dofi, Rob Lucci, and BY Luffy is 50% of the meta by itself, if not more. And so to have it split across not only just different decks, but different decks with different play styles and like different color identities makes it very difficult for you to be able to target only one deck, because you could very easily not play against Shanks all weekend, I think, playing 9 rounds or 10 rounds.
Me personally, I didn't feel that much different from O9 in terms of like different decks. I think, but in the last set, we kind of still also had 6 decks that were very viable. It was just that Dofi was just so far ahead, by far and ahead the best deck. Or in my opinion, at the very least, so it was just like, okay, we probably should be playing Dofi, and the other decks were kind of like being less represented. But if you kind of look at the store regionals that I've noticed, a lot of the times we kind of have similarly skewed like metagame breakdowns where like the top deck that shows up at the very least is like a Shanks deck, like 30-40% minimum, and then the rest of it's just like 8 to 10% of the other 5 decks. So honestly, it doesn't feel that much different. Obviously, like, we don't know which deck is the best deck, so we're a lot more excited about trying to figure out some exploratory rogue stuff. But in terms of like pure spread, I think it's not that much different from last set.
Gotcha. What do you think, Russell?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I would say like I don't think that a lot of people are bringing Dofi. I think the people that are bringing Dofi are like top players that are on like not copium, but they're just so used to like the level of consistency that Dofi provided.
Their sleeves sealed shut, right? They need to get 4 new sleeves for Jinbei, and then they're back at it, right? Like
but then like more than likely, if they took the time to learn Dofi last set, they just have really good fundamentals of both like the deck and how like they'll approach like a rogue meta. And like Red Rock Gravity Blade is so strong, and then like four drop Gecko, like you have so many options that like you're adaptable to a rogue meta, or you run into like that rogue deck who's trying to run into just Shanks or like just Blackbeard because they're super aggro, and you run into a Dofi and you're like, all right, you can collect free wins left and right. So I think if we had a complete breakdown, the conversion rate on blue Dofi would be the highest this weekend. Easily, in my opinion.
I think that's very fair. I think there's going to be a lower concentration, especially from what we've been seeing, and the people who are on it are very good at the deck. So I think that's very fair. So real quick, I will just kind of break down the tiers and my thoughts, and you guys can we can discuss it from there. But tier 0.99, generally speaking, again, I think like the 6 decks that I have right there are the strongest, but I think I'd give a bit of an edge to Shanks, Teach, and Dofi. I think all 3 of these are still like in contention for best deck in the format. I feel like most of them have pretty good matchups across the board, and compared to Bonnie, Purple Luffy, and Zoro, and like these aren't super in order too. I wouldn't argue any of these positions of necessarily like Zoro's worse than Purple Luffy or something, but I feel like that tier 1 they're very close. I just don't think, in comparison, I don't think anyone would say is Bonnie, Purple Luffy, or Zoro is best deck in the format. And they are kind of more polarizing on either consistency or like going first or second, where I think Shanks, Teach, and Dofi, they don't care about the dice roll as much as these other decks a lot of the time. So that's a bit of a distinction. Tier 1.5, or sorry, 1.25, because I originally had 1.25, and then I put like 7 more decks and decided to break it up again. But I think Smoker, Lucci, and Usopp, I'm putting it here because I think there's a lot of people who believe in those in comparison. that there's a good amount of people who are testing them out and playing them this weekend. This is pretty much the make or break weekend if these decks are kind of successful, I think, for a lot of players. If they do well, they'll continue to kind of do well throughout the format. If not, I think a lot of people will probably start walking away from using these. Tier 1.5 is kind of like the same spot, but these are diehards, so they'll probably stay on these decks for the rest of the format. I would say in comparison, 1.25 will likely get a top sometime this format, and then 1.5 might get a top this format in my mind, and then the maybe pile is just people bullied me to put those decks in a pile, so I put them in the maybe pile. So
Very nice.
that's my thoughts. What speaks to you, Russell, when you see this tier list?
Bonnie needs to leave tier 1 and go to tier 1.5, if not 1.25. The bottom of it, we'll start ordering it.
Okay.
Put Bonnie at the bottom of that is.
Bottom. Okay, all right.
I think
just like
smokers should be
barely
higher.
on the screen, right? But still in somewhere, right?
I don't know. People still top and win with it at store regionals.
That's the issue, right?
I give them their due. I'm like, I don't know how y'all made that run, but congratulations on not opening 3 Hody Jones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not for me, but I have to respect that it's winning events, so I'm putting it there. Is kind of with Bonnie.
Yeah. Overall, like, I mean, I wouldn't even break down the tiers to this level. In my opinion, 1.5s, and then take Law and Reiju out of the maybes and put them all in 1.25. If I had to, like, I genuinely feel like everything in like the bottom 2 rows, save Nami, save Boa, and like maybe Kata, are like, they're kind of all on the same power level, at least in my eyes. And then I have a giant jump where it's like Pluffy, Zoro, Dofi, Blackbeard, and Shanks, with Bonnie being in between that, depending on if you won the dice roll and if you opened a 5-drop.
Sure.
And yeah, just like, that's pretty much where I'm at.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. One extra caveat on like the maybe pile is these are decks that there's just so many decks that are viable right now in some capacity that it's even with like a month almost of testing, you can only test so much. So those ones I just have less experience in particular. I will say after playing almost 100 ranked games this week, I ran into each one of these decks no more than once in comparison to the others where I saw a couple builds of each of them. So that was a bit of a contingency of, there you can play the deck and you can be a super diehard on it, but it doesn't have the mass appeal that the other leaders kind of have.
Yep.
What about you, Yonas?
For me, I'm biased because I'm playing Blackbeard, but I think Blackbeard's just like the best deck by a whole notch, to be completely honest. For me, like Russell already talked about the consistency, and I think Blackbeard's consistency is just leagues better than every other deck in the top 3 tiers, aside from maybe Usopp. And I think its high rolls are about as explosive as everyone else's, aside from maybe Zoro and Red Green Smoker.
Yeah.
So you kind of have a lot of both the consistency and power that a lot of card game players look for in an ideal deck. So it's really hard to kind of get away from it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And and I kind of said I did a good amount of Zoro testing literally today, and my experience with Zoro is that like sometimes I just win. Like no matter like I just win. Like we're not playing the game. And it's super fun.
You're talking about you go second, you hit chopper on play, got a chopper out. They swing at you, you shut up, come with us, hit the other chopper comes out, game ends.
I had and this is a part of it is like people giving you somewhat free wins because Zoro is not like super duper popular, but like going second, you leave 2 open and then you double shut up and come with us and you get 2 3-drop choppers. Like
what a card.
Game over. Like it's like not even being mean, but like I just won the game on turn 2. So the ceiling is very high with Zoro. I think he's probably best hands in contention, probably the best deck in the format. Shanks can sometimes still play well and find their curve with the help of no consistency tools, and it's just be better. But Zoro just likes to win sometimes, and Smoker too. But I can't draw the 5-drop Smoker to save my life, until it's like the last card of my life, like very consistently. So I've had to abandon Smoker personally because it's been, and Virgo yesterday, even on Wednesday Night One Piece, like Virgo is something's up. Virgo just misses when I'm in my presence. I was playing some games today with Zoro too. My opponent's playing Smoker. There were two Virgo misses today. I'm like, what is going on? Like what have I done to upset this man? But Any other but hopefuls though that on kind of the
Um,
lower end that maybe I underrated a little
to
bit?
be completely honest, I just didn't have enough time to test so many of these tier 1.5 and maybe decks.
Hmm.
Um, there's just not nearly enough time in the day,
There's
unfortunately,
there's
despite the
not.
fact that we play an ungodly amount of One Piece.
Yes, yeah, it is. I think we said that you likely play more One Piece than Sleep on an average day.
That's probably true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
over like a 4 week period. Yeah, I think it's pretty clearly that you play more One Piece than Sleep. So even with that ratio, it is very tough. So the only decks that I would say maybe that we don't have deck lists that we're going to go over in a minute, but we can maybe get some of your guys' thoughts are, or maybe some tier 1.5s, maybe just like kind of the first five or so of like Lim, Yellow Kid, Marco, Red Purple Luffy, and Uta. We'll talk about Uta, I guess. Spoilers, that's Russell's list, but maybe those other four.
Yay.
Um, I see like a good amount of people on these decks and they're testing them out. Are these decks just like a little bit too? What would these need to be? Are they? Because I find like a lot of the time, one, it's really tough to be a 4 life leader in this meta. I feel like we're so red and green and kind of aggressive leaning that that extra life really makes a difference. Which kind of reminds me of like sets 1 through 4, where unless you're a red green law, if you're a 4 life leader, you're out of luck, right?
Yep.
So I think that makes a difference. I don't believe in Lim, and this is probably the one that I'm like the most negative about because I really want it to work and it just doesn't seem to be working. But um, Russell, you said that you saw like a kind of cool limb list earlier. Um,
Yeah, I don't remember the exact name of the stream that I follow for it.
yeah.
He also uploads on like YouTube, just content creator, and he has some really like well-known good players from the EU playing in like weekly tournaments over there. A limb deck just got first, and it's playing all like 5 drops and under. No, doesn't ramp into a Zoro, and then plays a heavy of the 6 drop Sakazuki.
Hmm.
That's like on play if you have 2 rested characters, pop a 5 cost or lower.
Yeah.
And that kind of ran through a 5 or 6 round tournament that they had, and then they played out a top 4 cut.
Hmm.
Um, so that was impressive to see. But I mean, if you looked at the list outside of having to read maybe like the Sakazuki,
Hmm.
everything's like fairly like limb standard. And then because you're not going for like the Zoro game plan, you then like tune your mid range to like late game to be based around the bodies that you already generated on board and the value you can get out of them.
Hmm.
Um, which I think probably like sculpts the mindset of both how their opponent's going to approach because they're like prepping for Zoro to hit, and then you yourself are playing where you're like, all right, I'll be fine as long as like I live with one left, I'll have double blocker up and I get the Zoro in play. Maybe like the way he built it was much different. However, at the same time, he played Gamma Knife, so like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
A drop kitty against that deck, it was crazy. That deck was broken. So
Yeah, it's been fun to see that card just being kind of super relevant. I think kind of overnight. It's just like a really good removal target, but also just there's sometimes like just really good value trades, right? Like if you want to think of it the other way, like pay 2 Dawn to give something plus 5K. That's really good value in a lot of spots. So that's been really interesting to see pop up pretty consistently.
yeah,
Uh,
it's making like the strong 1 drops and like purple packages. It makes them relevant into like a board state where you don't want them to be.
yeah.
Like maybe they're like 4 wide, then you're like, all right, I'm gonna swing my 5 drop and do this. Go ahead, pass it up, and you're like, yeah, Gamma Knife, swing with law, and you're like, what are you doing to me, man? like,
Yeah.
don't-
Yeah.
like I'm not giving you a card for this. Like and then you just lose it, right? And now
Mhm.
you 4 swings at face. So I think it's a strong card in general. So
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's really cool.
They've cards like that have not like historically been good, but they've been slowly getting a lot better going into this format and future formats. These like events that are like main events that just like only really help fight for board. Gamma Knife's been super popular both here and in Japan. Like Electrical Luna has been picking up a lot.
Yeah.
And like those kind of like situationally powerful events to fight for board becoming a lot more popular. Like it's like just really exciting. It's like a thing that I haven't really worked with, so I never would play those cards otherwise. So
Yeah.
trying
Yeah.
to work with them is an interesting battle.
And like Molgun and like some spots is kind of like that, right? It's
Yep.
just such a flexible card because sometimes it just makes sense to give something minus 5K and then pop like a Rosinante or something. But yeah, being able to have that flexibility, I think, is neat. So yeah, so we'll see if Lim. I'd be really excited. I hope I'm really wrong about it because I like the idea about it. It's such a unique kind of deck and build and just kind of how it bends the rules for the game and. I hope I'm its biggest fan. I'm also its biggest critic. I think at the same time. So we also have Yellow Kid, which I think a lot of people have been testing quite a bit. It's such a weird balance of a deck, I find, because you have so many of these burn effects, but you also want to be able to block her up, and you have to kind of also balance like how much life you take and when you flip your life over. Do you think, Jonas, that it's like missing something fundamental to be relevant here, or what's your thoughts?
I don't think so. It just doesn't really have any tools to win board fights, to be completely honest.
Sure, yeah.
Yellow kind of has that problem ever since Kingdom Come got banned. It's really
4
good at
weeks.
dealing with like 5 and lower characters. So if you get paired against like Dofi or Zoro, I'm excited to play this deck.
Yeah,
I'd bring it to a tournament every single time. But against the decks like Bonnie, God forbid, or Shanks, or even Blackbeard, it's just really hard to try to compete with those kind of decks when all you're really doing is just like playing some relatively mediocre like body without any like relevant on play effect for at least fighting for board.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's just really hard to play that kind of deck in this current meta.
Yeah, and
I will say my current list stomp Shanks and Blackbeard.
Oh,
But,
really?
like, yeah. But, oh no, you're fine. But it's very much like if you saw the cards I included, you'd be like, "What? Why?"
It's 7 cost an L and
I was
Kikinoja
like,
ready.
You
I'm
gotta
ready
get him,
for
baby.
you.
You gotta hit him. You gotta hit him.
Yeah.
like straight to the face. But yeah, I think I don't think Kid's missing anything. If it had Raigo, we then would have like more Anels. Maybe Kid would be more meta.
Mhm.
It might box out half of the tier 1 decks like in there. I don't know. Since we've been on so many podcasts, we both kind of know that like Anel's fundamentally not a balanced leader. And so
Sure.
What do you mean by that? It's so fair.
The
if it had
collective
Raigo,
of this
it'd be nuts.
podcast knows that. Yes.
That's fair.
But no, that's actually it's in my top 3 right now to be played.
The yellow kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to call it what everyone else calls it.
No. Yellow kid will be the Eggman events family friendly term. But you did kind of touch on something too that this is a little off topic, but I get messaged pretty often like, oh, I've got this build. It's the spiciest, and I can't not that I try to discredit it either, but like, yeah, I see all these different builds and I'll be like, I guess I gotta test it, right? Like this, if they believe in it, right? Like there's so much unknown, which means that there is a potential for someone to be like, oh, this build is actually really good into 5 of these decks that I'll be seeing most of the time. So I think that's something that's, this era of discovery is just really, really cool too. So when you say that you have a really good yellow kid list, I'm like, oh dang, he might be onto something.
He might be onto something. I was like, oh yeah, we're onto some turn sideways every turn kind of deck. Going
and
crazy.
I look at him like, I guess so. So,
but yeah, like at the same time, I mean, that's just the most fun we've been having in the format. I mean, I was testing for 2 days. I tested a Wano Bonnie list where essentially you played Hiyori and you threw out a 5/7 on turn 2.
Sure.
And then that solo beat Shanks by itself. Because the new Shanks builds could not handle a 5/7 on board that early, that quick.
7Ks are just that is out of range.
Yeah, it's obnoxious.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so like I was showing people the list and they're like, you can't even use Dendro's ability. Like your leader's not Odin. And I'm like, who cares? 5/7 on board, baby. And they're like, all right. And they're like, well, what if you draw it later? Get over it. You're already playing green. Have your deck sucks. Like, just grow up. Use your 0 cost.
I've seen Kinemon decks do similar things.
I was gonna say that
just
that
to try to get it even half a
immediately-
turn sooner.
Yeah, I've been building that too. I've been doing it turn 3 dawn. Like,
Yeah.
let's go.
Yeah, that's super funny. Yeah, I do hope that there will be a little bit more of like a settling, so then people can try to make some of these more of like super targeting decks that just have these weird combinations. So yeah, and I think we red and green I think are 2 of the stronger colors right now too. There's a lot of just aggressive power and Hodie's really good. So to have some of these like weirder green decks come out of the woodworks, I think would be really nice too.
Yeah, it's weird to have a feeling that black is not that strong. Like it's a interesting feeling in this game to be like,
To have Rob
now
Lucci get to
I'm-
8 Dawn and not know what they're going to do next is
and
insane.
then you not just like sit there like look at him like, did you get it? Did you
Yeah.
draw it?
And they're also at 8 Dawn and they only have like 3 cards in their trash too. Like what is going on? Like
Crazy.
All it took was Great Eruption, Ice Age, Moria, and a Slobby.
yeah, just 4 cards out. Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I guess real quick we'll talk about Marco. Do Do you guys have any real thoughts about Red Purple Luffy, except for if 4 life leaders are really hurting right now, 3 life leaders are super duper hurting?
If you want to beat exactly Shanks, I think it's very good.
That is correct. I looked at the matchup chart for it. It's like Shanks is positive and then a sea of red afterwards. So
Yeah.
it's really, really tough. And then Marco, I really wish was like a little bit better. Teach is such a hard matchup for us. Zoro and Smoker, since we are 4 life leaders, hard to be defensive. If I found like a somewhat consistent way to beat Teach, I'd probably be on the list. But without that, pretty much every card on the decks is on play besides Emporio, which also I guess has an on play, but you get around it and then you have a when attacking ability. Because it's so cool to have like a minus power leader in this really battle focused meta that we're in right now. So it just, you get so much free advantage for it, but it's just you can't keep up with everything as a 4 life. So maybe we'll get something from one of the new star decks. I know star deck 22 has some potentially cool stuff with Whitebeard blue support too, but and I don't know. I play against a good amount of people with playing Marco on ladder, and I'm always rooting for him, but
You're rooting for your opponent?
always. It's a win-win situation.
No,
yeah.
don't die.
Yeah, but I was playing Zoro earlier, and they had double Emporio. They had like all the battle to, and I still just was like, cool. Well, you have no blockers and you're at 0 life, so I guess I just go for it. So
then you win with 4 life, 4 in hand.
Yeah.
Easy game.
It's so sad. So hopefully I'm wrong with Marco. Hopefully it gets some tops. I'm rooting for it. So. Anyways, that's just, I guess, general tier list thoughts and thoughts for the deck. This will clearly change in the next couple weeks too, with more results and stuff. But these are my thoughts and almost Russell's and Jonas's thoughts going into it, based on this one. So
it's a team effort, all the same.
Yeah, the collective of this podcast feels somewhat like this. So we're gonna go over deck lists for each of us. These are ones that we'd be highly considering, or in one of our cases actually playing this weekend. But we'll start off with we'll start off with Russell's, because that one was
nice.
The one that was behind there. So
There we go.
Russell, are you playing this list this weekend?
Yes. It's one of my 3 decks. It's between Blackbeard Uda or Yellow Kid. And I'm not even joking. When
I believe you. You are.
Yeah, 100%.
You were a believable person in my mind.
yeah. 5 life leader. The matchups that you have are so, it's not polarizing. It's just like, can they take 6 every turn and generating like net advantage over time? Then you have your typical like green stuff. If they're bad into 8-drop kid and you drew your 8-drop kid or hit it off your life, then you're gonna win the game. If you got the late game and then they're gonna try and hide behind Gum Gum Giant, congratulations, your deck plays Hody Jones, and hopefully you drew it.
Yeah.
And outside of that, the deck is like, it's just really efficient, strong, fundamental play with like, oh, I can take this turn off and go for like a +1 with my leader effect and then go like blocker on board. It's very go wide, and there's not many like, I would say, auto losses for the deck in general. The problem is you feel like is exactly what is wrong with this deck, which is you're playing essentially a starter deck where like you don't really do much besides playing out like a go wide board. Like if you hit 7-drop Luffy and you're going like second, you feel great because you get like a draw +7 plus that, especially if you're healthy. If you're like 2 or 3 life left, you don't even have 8-drop kid that turn. Having the ability to search up Shanks is fire. This deck is amazing into Shanks. It stomps Shanks face in really, really badly. But overall, like I don't know why I don't really want to play it. I think the feeling when you swing leader and you committed to the line of play to swing leader and then you flip over 8-drop kid is very demoralizing. More so than losing when you have like a 9-card hand with Bonnie. And so that's kind of how you got there. I've noticed like, if you just sit back and not swing in a Zoro with this deck, you just beat them. Like, it's a landslide. You just do nothing, and then by the time like you hit your 7 down, you're like, oh, here's a 7-drop and a 4-drop. Go ahead. I'll start swinging at you now. And like, there's not enough for them to overcome it, even through Gum Gum Mulgun, right? So like, yeah, that's just really strong. Previously, I will give a shout out to one of the players that did well inside, I believe, Thailand. It was Raffi. So if you want to look up Raffi, Indonesia. My apologies.
Yeah.
So he made top 4 at the Indonesian championship, and he lost to, I think, finals was Dofi versus Dofi. Big surprise, right? That he had a list like a very popularized from it. He didn't have the Nami inside of it, and I spoke with him about like how I should approach this meta with the ban list. What does he think is good in the deck? And we kind of came to like the same conclusions, which is like you need to play Hody Jones because you just need a good closer in this current format. And I wanted the definite inclusion of Nami because I wanted to be able to expend so many resources while I'm digging for my 8-drop kid against Zoro or the decks that auto win via kid that like I was down to like just stockpile and count out early so I can keep fighting. Other than that, the deck kind of explains itself. Your 3-drop blocks out Gum Gum Mulgun. You can still have a blocker on board. You can swap out various tech spots like the Hody, the 2-cost blocker, and then the 3-drop Usopp are all kind of like techie, as well as the three Uda. You want the 2-drop because you want a strong Tendon play of leader swing, draw a card, play 7-drop that plays that in 4-drop blocker, and then you play the 2-drop blocker, and there's your Tendon for the turn.
Yeah.
And if you don't feel like high rolling that, it doesn't really matter. I mean, the deck does everything else it needs. Sometimes you get a search Shanks. Not many decks can search Shanks, pretty strong. And you know, your leader draws a card every turn, and you're swinging 6. So it's a pretty good deck.
Not bad.
Yeah, I think that's super fair. What would you say is the worst matchup you've encountered with this deck? That's mildly popular, I guess.
Okay, I was gonna say Buggy.
Yeah. Buggy's a man. Don't let the Buggy haters get any leverage in
I was
this.
like, oh yeah, I can't tag with anything, huh?
No,
He's like, no. And I was like, very well. And then I went like 7-drop, and he's like 10-drop Buggy bot deck, and I was like, all right, we're gonna lose. We're gonna lose like happily. What would it be? It might be Blackbeard, but like, yeah, it's probably Blackbeard.
Yeah.
I think Shanks is very favored. No, it's definitely Dovey. It's Dovey because they
bounce all your 4s.
Bounce it, yeah.
Yeah, they bounce all my 4s and they clear 8-drop kid.
Yep.
Yeah. Because if anything, Blackbeard's 50-50. It's like decent into it. That's why I was like, it can't be that bad. But no. If you see Dovey, congratulations. You're part of the numbers of the conversion rate. Hopefully you don't see him in day 2.
Yeah. Well, you already said like Dofi players are above average, stronger players already on the deck still. So that's already strike
one. The deck got
so.
Nerfed, so it
yeah,
out.
Sure.
Yeah, the deck got nerfed, so everyone that was like quote unquote carried, if we're gonna say that, right? if they're quote unquote carried by Jinbei, then it's like, all right, they're banning ship and they're going to Shanks, or they're like they're going somewhere else. But like the try hard Dofi players have amazing fundamentals. They're like, it didn't do that much. Like it could be worse. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of those still around.
Yeah. So. No, that's really fair. As we'll see my deck in a minute. Not that I was a Dofi player, but Any other considerations? I know like Uta's a bit unique, where you're mildly forced to run almost all film cards, right? You're playing 4 non-targets, which I think is about standard. You can pretty easily run 50 film cards, I think, right now, but I think Kid and Hody are too important to not include. So
yeah.
But was there any other consideration? I know some people would play 10-drop Dofi occasionally, but I don't.
No shot, not on this deck.
You can't use leader ability.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's not even can't use leader ability. I don't need a freeze. I need a swing. Like, if we're fighting for board, I don't know how I turn their card sideways outside of black light. So it's not really happening. However, my initial testing, I had 2 Punk Gibson in the deck.
Interesting.
Because I had a world where I was like, well, we're now testing we're testing this meta, and it showed up at EU, the Shanks deck that had 4 Redhawks, and then the Zoro deck that got second that had 4 Redhawks, which is insane, right?
Yeah.
So like you enter a lot of what you guys were speaking to earlier, which is it's such an aggro format, and it's like do you have it? Can I checkmate you? Can you set up checkmate back on me? That like those two dawn events, the Globes, the Punk Gibsons, the Redhawks, and the Violent, everything, they're really they're closing out games where the opponent should have definitely won the game in terms of a raw natural number.
Yep.
They only have 1 in hand, and so it's definitely just perfect numbers here. And if you have 2 open, there's a lot of all right, they actually might not be able to close through here.
Yeah.
In a deck that provides this many blockers, you have so many options for it to bail you out of scenarios, and or be that turn where you landslide and you punish quote unquote bad gameplay when your opponent's going to lead before swinging with their 4-drop on their board, and you're like, oh, Punk Gibson tap, and they forgot that Punk Gibson's a card because they didn't play back in OP01, right?
Yeah, I as much as it ages, there's there's a whole new a set of people who are playing this game where they didn't play the first year, and there's a bunch of cards that were super popular, as mentioned, like Punk Gibson, that they have to learn for the first time that this card is in the set and we can play it, and I just lost to it.
Yeah.
So
like, you play 2 punks for some reason. Weird card.
Yeah.
Tap my guy.
Yeah. And then the old head's like, oh yeah, I remember that card. It's a doozy.
We're still in 2023, losing the pistol out of life. Like,
exactly.
Nothing
Yeah. Nothing changed. So.
I lost today to 10k Red Hawk out of life.
Yeah.
I had like purple lethal checkmate. And I was like swaying. They're like, minus 10k to that. And I was like, yeah, you got me. Jeez.
Yeah, that's even like worse than like beige or zero life, because like you're not expecting it much. I think more people are like kind of expecting Red Hawk, but like that card's like 2 copies max for most Shanks lists, and for like one of them to just randomly go to the bottom life without any healing or manipulation, well, that just feels way worse.
It's beautiful. I don't know what the problem is.
Yeah, I just smiled when I lost. I was like, oh, let's go. Yeah.
One random question, and you don't have to go on a whole tirade. Do you think Hody or Kid is the best green card in the game right now?
In the game?
Or is it neither? That's fine. Okay.
It's Hody. It's Hody. It's so easily Hody Jones. Right. Yeah. But all right, it's the best green card. I don't like playing at 4. Does that make sense?
That's fair.
Yeah.
So like I keep showing people 3, like other Bonnie players. I was like, 3 of these, and they're like, stop, put it at 4. You need it. And I was like, I don't know. When you have 2 Hody Jones and your opponents are swinging on you, and you don't see your Kid yet, you're down 2 cards in there. Like, it's rough. You only need the one to close the game. So
I was gonna say, it is the best green card that you only want to see once throughout a game, right? Like any more than that, you're like, why is this still in my hand? So that's
but everyone else's boss monsters. I mean, trying to see multiple Rayleighs, right?
Yeah,
you're trying to see like all four Shanks. Like, send them.
Yeah.
You see multiple Hodies in the opening hand, you're like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
But if you're going first, you're vibing.
Yeah.
If you're going second, it's a go next.
Yeah. It's, I agree, especially like in Smoker as a 4-life leader. Like you're just like, oh, this is so much pain because I can't defend anything, and then like it goes -1 in life. So. But yeah, do you think Hody's best?
I think Hody
is as well.
Just
to close the thought. So, all right. Well, thank you, Russell. If you decide to take this one, or whatever you play, good luck. But extra good luck for Uta, because it is now on the internet. We all know the list now. No more surprising. No Punk
no Punk Gibson.
Imagine. Okay, you're not going to do this, but you put Punk Gibson last minute just to be like, all right, now they don't expect it.
Yeah. They're like, I leave 2 open, and they're like, no shot, you're doing this.
If I get a DM saying Russell said this was his list, I played him in finals, and he Punk Gibson my butt, like unforgiven.
He just reversed Uno cards
exactly.
his opponent. And like his opponent's playing Shanks, they hit Red Hawk out of life, and then they go for a game, and then he hits a Gibson out of life, and it's like, all right, that's just justice.
Yeah, that's just bad. So, well, welcome to my list, and probably the most boring list of the 3 that we have. But honestly, if I'm not feeling confident with Marco, Shanks has some symptoms that look like Marco sometimes. The leader does minus on the other turn, but that's fine. I get to play silvers and feel like a smart boy sometimes, so I get that. I get to play Divine with a lot worse, playment, but it is more searchable, and that's just kind of the idea for the deck. So I normally don't like playing like one of the more popular leaders in the game, but I think Shanks is really strong right now. I think being able to be like you can build Shanks aggressively. You can play it really, aggressively, defensively, and kind of in the middle. I like having like this more adaptable list that can do kind of it all. I am running the double searchers with Nami and Uta, mostly with the fact that I find like if you do play a searcher on your first turn, it does give you like not only like the consistency, but like having a 1-drop that can attack into something else on board gets a lot of value throughout the game most of the time. Most 1-drops just sit on the board for the entire game because you played on turn 1 and the removal so low in this game that it can randomly convert. Even against like Blackbeard, if they're not playing if they don't see their dock queue on turn 1, like they usually don't have time to play it, and then that Nami can be another attack that could go for game on our like end turn. So I think that's pretty valuable. It means that I the list is pretty tight on mostly Red Hair Pirate and Straw Hat stuff, but that's Straw Hat's like one of the best tags, especially in red, so I'm not too complainy. We do have a good amount of variety, I think. I think the most contentious card right now is probably the mole gun, just because like it is a straw hat tag, so I do like seeing it, and it could be a red hawk instead if I feel like I'm doing it. But most of the time, I'm usually playing something on my turn 2, so I don't leave the 2 Dawn anyways. So I don't feel like I need that. Weirdly enough, I might want to go down to 3 copies of Shanks, which I know is blasphemous, but it's something where I see it often enough when I really only need to play 1 in most scenarios that seeing more than 1 feels bad, and since I have some ways to search it, it feels better. So that might be something I dip a copy of. So maybe like an extra. I like Divine because it solves a lot of problems at times. And maybe take Mole Gun out for maybe another Straw Hat for consistency, or maybe even do like 4 Uta and 2 Nami, and just sometimes Nami misses, I guess. But I like this build a lot, specifically because it feels like most of the time I'm at least doing things. I feel like I brick a lot less often on like turn 2s and 3s with, my only thing is attach all my Dawn on leader and go for it. And I think that's part of the reason I like it so much. So, but there are a lot of different builds of that Shanks that just exist. I think you'll see a lot of different ones that, especially this weekend. And what are your thoughts, Jonas?
So I am a searcher hater personally.
Sure.
I know a lot of people, extremely good people, including yourself, obviously.
Close one, but okay, we'll take it.
Safe. That really like these searchers to kind of increase consistency.
Yeah.
But my problem with this deck is like relying on either searcher makes you have to play some relatively lackluster cards.
Sure.
And I feel like if you play both searchers, your hit percentage isn't where I want it to be personally. In terms of
to justify
to justify playing
cards.
Yeah. So like I just didn't really like the searchers, and I really liked Red Hawk in this format, so I've kind of just abstained from playing either one. And the other main reason why I don't like searchers is I think this deck functionally can't exist without 8 costs really.
Sure.
And I just feel like you just need to see that card, and like if it's not searchable, like a lot of times I'm just like, why are we playing this?
Sure,
fixing your early part of the game and trying to be more aggressive leaning, I think is very powerful, and it's a different dimension of the deck that I haven't really explored as much. But I kind of just like the mid-rangey package, and I just want to just curve out into like 4, 6, 8, and just kind of hope that works basically.
Yeah, I think one fundamental difference is that you are way better at drawing cards than I am. So
I am
like,
top deck god for sure.
You get that you're afforded to do that. Where I am lowly bad luck. I have to find my pieces the hard way. So, but yeah, I think that's fair. And really, like the biggest thing is that why I was kind of on this package more again was more of sometimes like just having another 1-drop on board to apply pressure later is good, but. Yeah, strictly speaking, I do feel like I feel like silver's a little bit less because one, I'm only playing 3 instead of 4, and the other reason is because there's no way to search it, which is really unfortunate.
Yep.
So, what about you, Russell? What are your thoughts on Shanks and maybe this build?
Do you like Lucky Roo? Like, do you enjoy playing that card?
Yeah,
Has it broken board states? That chopper has broken board states. Like that chopper has saved my opponents or myself when I played like this deck. Like I don't know, maybe 10 times total. That card saves me like 7 cards over the course of the game. It's actually
the 4-cost blocker chopper.
The 4-cost blocker chopper is broken. Like that is one of the angriest cards I've ever seen.
Oh, I think you need Lucky Roo against exactly Zoro to get
I was
rid
gonna
of their
say,
choppers.
yeah. I think like I play against it, and the Zoro player like shifts in their chair a little bit differently when they see it hit the board. Sometimes Dofi, if they don't find Law, which sometimes it happens. It's not all the time, but sometimes it does. So in this build here, there's also been some like weird situations where I need a blocker late game, and Uta find Lucky Roo has won me the game. I can do that with Nami too, with Chopper too. But yeah, I like it. If I wasn't playing Uta Searcher, would I play it at 4? Maybe not. And maybe do like a 4-3 split with Chopper being the 4 and Lucky Roo being the 3. But I think the biggest thing about it is that it doesn't trade with like Smoker 5/7 that well, but it like 5-cost Luffy from the Star deck, which we're also playing 4 of, is very present in this meta. The fact that it can block a 7K and then get rid of Luffy in the same kind of spot, I do think is really strong as well. So, but
very true.
It's really only good against red. Green and blue usually can interact with it. It doesn't matter if you're playing Chopper or Lucky Roo against Teach because they're just going to finger pistol or black hole it.
Lucky Roo is actually quite good against Teach in a lot of spots because they can't set up Van Augur.
Sure.
I mean, they can, but it's
yeah.
immediately.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I was just more so like if you play a 4, they just have good removal for either way. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's mostly I think like Zoro. It's just the matchup quite a bit, but I do also think that Zoro is probably going to continue to wane as we get deeper in this format too. So I think that's fair.
Yeah. I've slowly grown against the usage of Divine Departure. That's my second thing.
Okay.
It's like when I first saw it and then I first started playing against it, I was like, that card's broken. And then I stopped playing Bonnie and I've started not to respect that card.
Sure.
Right? I've started to be like, sure, like that's all you're done, right? Because now I get to play decks that actually have good on plays or like productive turns, right? So I don't know. I'm in on Divine Departure. I'm also in the Red Hawk realm where I love Red Hawk in this deck. I spoke to that earlier. I want to play Punk Gibson and Uda. I'm trying to play some Red Hawk and Shanks, right? So, same logic, same levels of consistency, but no, it has pretty much everything. I don't know. I think the 4-drop blocker chopper and that Sanji have really added something to this deck I did not expect it to get.
Yeah, to actually have like a 6K leader with a -1 effect is
not even that. Like I'm not trying to swing at that Sanji, man. That card's good. So, there's a lot of they go first. They go leader swing, Sanji pass, draw. I play like a very relevant or like solid 4-drop, and then now the rest of the game I'm like, they just Mulgun me. Like I could get Mulgun right now, and would it like break the board state if they go Mulgun plus like a 1-drop that gets the extra card? So I don't know. I obviously Shanks is strong, and I also haven't played Yasop in a very long time. So
he's definitely a concession of like a Red Hawk, card. But there are also like if you go second, you play him on 2, then he can get rid of 7 costs if you attack with it and then play out Ben Beckman. But that's also something like Building Snake can do, which is missing from this build. So.
That's true. I'm also like a big advocate of playing down the chopper to the board, and then playing the chopper to the board, then playing a Yasop immediately the next turn just sounds extremely unproductive because like you have a 6K blocker and now you have a 6K leader. Who cares? Like it's nearly the same thing, and I feel like I'm not getting as much value I could if I just played a I don't know, unblockable Luffy. So we'll just start naming red cards. Obviously.
Yeah.
But like I don't know. Deck's broken. Let's go Shanks.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing that you guys are touching on is like this deck is like the master of none in the way where it's really flexible in being able to approach a lot of matchups, but it doesn't specifically target anything right now, which I think that is more of a constraint of again like not knowing what this format looks like specifically. But I would if there is something that I want to target more, or if we know what this format looks like a little bit more, I would I would definitely tailor it some more from that as well. So.
You're definitely not playing any card that like if you played it against me, I'm like, why is that in your deck? Like it's very much a like I get it. Like sure, you're going.
I think the craziest card again is probably Mulgun, which isn't even that bad, but it is probably the weakest card in the deck, and I would definitely.
Week one, those are leaving decks. People are gonna realize like these Bonnies, they're not getting there, and or that one Bonnie had like, chip in a chair, you got a dream, maybe, but like. Gosh, there's so many more problems with that deck outside of Mulgun. I don't want to talk about it.
I wished I loved a deck as much as you hated Bonnie.
I just love Bonnie so much.
I know. Like that's the
so much. Like it's just no one can convince me. No one.
No,
like,
I know.
There's so many Bonnie players that are like just tailor your deck for Shanks. You're gonna get there. And I was like, dog, I just lost to Bello Betty. Don't talk to me right now. We're not like clearly it didn't matter if it was Shanks or anything. Like we'll be all right.
Yeah. All right. Well, there's my deck. Thank you guys for going over it with me. I do appreciate it. And we'll wrap it up. We've got the list from Yonas. And real quick, Yonas did play this with me during Wednesday Night One Piece. Yep. Normally we do like one bonus game at the end of it, but we ended up just doing like 90 minutes or so. I think it was like 6 or 7 games.
If you told me you played for 2 hours, I'd believe you. If you played, it was 10 minutes, I'd believe you. I sat in that chair and got up at midnight.
If I didn't, I cut the recording and then restarted the recording after we to cut the Wednesday Night One Piece stuff out, and then I accidentally like reconverted the hour 90 or hour 30 we did for that one. So that's how I know how long it was. But you played most of it with Smoker, and I think Smoker. From all the decks that we brought, which were viable decks and that were going to be around, I think you lost maybe like 2 games. One of them I think was to Bonnie, but You were pretty undefeated with this list.
Bonnie went
good.
undefeated in that entire night.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah, everyone's
Insane,
aware.
Those numbers, baby.
Yeah, but also if you guys want to see all that extra gameplay, you can find it. It is a membership only view on YouTube since it was like the bonus thing for Wednesday Night One Piece. But check it out if it makes sense. I do appreciate the support. We do. There is a lot of cost to running the Wednesday Night One Piece and getting editors to flip it out so quickly. So, and that Wednesday Night One Piece will be out like a couple hours after this video drops. So likely it's already out when you're watching it. But anyways, with that all aside, go over your.
Let's just
smoker
go into
list.
this. So, in terms of like how to build or how I started building this deck, I started with the Asia finalist, and then I kind of noticed two things that didn't really matter in this meta that, or in that meta that does matter in this one.
Mm-hmm.
First is Green Purple Luffy. So like Green Purple Luffy that exists in EBO2. Let's not talk about it too much, but that deck really needed you to like fight for board and deal with 7k bodies. And when that exists, I think Ben Beckman's quite good, and I think that really relying on like trying to take the game a lot slower is a lot more viable with like blockers and stuff like that. But Baccarat and Ben Beckman just felt very underwhelming in this format, but being very aggressive with this kind of deck felt quite good. You also can't rely on Kid nearly as much in this meta, as Russell probably knows because of all the red popular decks. So I kind of wanted to lean a little bit more towards the aggressive slant, being a lot more racing, and that's where kind of the idea behind like Carrot and Luffy came in. I've seen a lot of other people online doing very similar things. So I've been really liking this deck as just try to be like super duper aggressive, try to be that racing deck that just like leaves up one igloo and just makes their opponent's life miserable in terms of how they're supposed to attack. Sanji, 5-cost smoker obviously is absurd. All that kind of stuff just to try to get their opponent dead and just try to rely on Hodies to try to close the game out. I don't really like Monet in this build, which is kind of funny. But as you know how disloyal Virgo can be, I think you just need to make your Virgos as consistently as you possibly can. And I'm playing, I think it's 21 hits off of my Virgo hit.
Because Virgo can't by itself. You've got
so we have Sanji, Tashigi, Smoker, and Chopper as 4 ofs, 3 Igloos, and 2 Monets. But I've seen Liz play fewer, but I'm just like, I just don't want to brick. So let's just try to play a couple more. But even still, I brick plenty of times. But I'm really liking this list. I think you're not bad into a lot of the field, and this is probably one of the best ways you can be in terms of just like maximizing consistency. But you can try some other cards. I know people like 10-cost Dofi. I wasn't a huge fan of it. I'm also not a huge fan of Beckham, like I mentioned, but this deck's kind of busted in terms of like really super explosive, but it's also very inconsistent. So you got to deal with that.
Yeah, and real quick, just confirm. Kid's at 4 copies, right? Is that,
okay, it's still a 4 of. It's just very good.
Just making sure I had the right build on the screen before.
You can't rely on him as much. Like just like doing like Kid blocker stuff isn't nearly as good. But using him as just like a one pump chump to just be like, all right, you're not killing me this turn.
Sure.
And then if you want to 12 this, you're welcome to. Is like very very good, I think, in this meta.
Yeah. What are your thoughts, Russell, on Smoker in general?
I haven't had time to test it, and I really want to. And we had a discussion before we started the pod, which is like Ben Beckman versus not playing it, right?
Yeah.
And the same way I value Red Hawk and Punk Gibson and all these like late game events is the same reason I value this deck so highly. Is that like Globe can really, or Igloo can like really, I don't know, it tricks people and or like breaks board states, and what I like believe is probably the most decision making / skill intensive turns, which is like 7, 8, 9 for like both players. Like I would say that those decisions on those turns are the most impactful towards the overall board state. If everyone went like if both players hit their ideal stuff, right? Going 7, 8, and 9 is like when you're gonna see how like we're gonna get into a late game or we're racing, and having the ability to like dictate that through a leader ability is very strong to me. And the inconsistency that the deck must feel like heaven to me as a Bonnie player. So it's probably fine. Like it's probably
worst case,
chilling,
regular
bro.
deck
like,
for Russell, right?
Yeah. Another day in the hood for me. Everyone else is just like, no, it's so inconsistent. I'm like, yeah. Sometimes you just gotta draw your carrot, get over it. We gotta be like, that's how it's always been. But I think it's good, and I really like Smoker, the 5-drop, and then it's the best red cards I can think of, the best green cards I can think of, and then Monet. That's pretty much like
which is a Marco player's my favorite red card. That's a 2-drop that puts Dawn and minus this. Man, Emporio loves finding that one, but
Yeah, yeah.
It just noticed bad,
I'm
yeah.
also of the like. I'd be crazy. I'd like cut a kid for a Zoro. I get ridiculous. I'd be like, yeah, whatever. I don't care. Like, I'm gonna stay healthy. Drop a Zoro, laugh at him. Like, why are you playing this? Like, so
I'm
I
so
just
boring when it comes to deck building. I'm just like, I just want a 4 of. So
no, I got spice, baby. Trying to live.
Yeah, I think like the only thing is we mentioned. I think the win rate it depends on the matchup, but it is really dictated on finding Smoker on 5 or on I guess 3. Your turn 3, 5 or 6 on,
yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Because it just plummets when you don't see it. And with how much counter that we don't have in this deck, right? Like I think legitimately, like yeah, 20 cards in this deck don't have counter. Do you miss having like any effect that like converts cards from hand into value, like any like kick cores, or because there's like no, you're just okay with having three
I
Hodis in
lose
hand.
more games not having threats to play than having too many threats, to be honest.
Yeah.
If I get played
Yeah.
against Blackbeard and they pistol my first smoker and I don't have like Tashigi to defend it, and then my next turn is carrot pass, that's when I lose.
Sure.
I think like a lot of times you can just survive with an igloo even with 3 bricks in hand. So I'd much rather kind of like lean towards just like not really playing any more like non-counters or playing bad mana kick horse. And I just don't think like adding any extra like ways to kind of circumvent that's going to be that useful.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm. It loses the same way green loses, like normal. Is that you don't have a board
Sure.
to play the game outside of like, oh, like you have those Bonnie hands where you just draw no counter power. Understood, right?
Yeah.
But like half the games you're losing is because you are hitting your pieces, and so are they. And inherently off the gate, that means you're losing because like their on play effects just generate so much value for them. And it used to be all right, well, you're the best late game deck in the game because you have 8-drop kid and you have this. And now that people are playing answers to it because they don't have to play like answers and or play a deck that has to dodge like Lucci or like all the others form like the things that got hit in the ban list. It means that like it's just not in the same spot that it used to be. And that's why Smoker is attractive to me because you can play 2 cards in a single turn, which I'm not doing inside Bonnie, right? So yeah, and also the win rate on Sim for this deck is trash. Like this, like if I remember correctly from like the last video, like I watched of yours a few days back, it was pretty bad across the board. Like it was a lot of red, and I kind of attest that more to the skill it takes to play a 4 life leader with such a deck, as opposed to like how the matchup might actually go. As opposed to like how it's swinging. Like most of the 4 life leaders, like they have a general game plan. You follow the game plan, you're definitely gonna win. And they have some, like pump effect and or rush aggro ability, like Reiju, Red Green Odin. I don't know. We can go off like for days here, right? But essentially, this deck's a lot more punishing to bad plays than other 4 life leaders might be, and that's already saying something because it's a 4 life leader, right? Like other 4 life leaders are all in the same state. Like you counter the wrong card, or you like forget to do this, then they can just card starve you out of the game and or like set up a lethal on you quicker than you're used to. But
yeah, I think that's
That's
kind of the curse of green is where the margins are so thin. Like one card can be the difference between winning and losing. I feel like more often than others. So, and I to kind of attest, and normally this is how I see it, and from my experiences, it's one of the newest leaders in the game right now. A lot of people are just splashing, testing it on ranked, and or we had store regionals. Oh, this one won a store regional, did well. I'm going to test out the list on ranked, and then without any real testing before that, you really have to know your lines. I feel like for this deck, and
it's the only relevant leader from this set too, right?
Yellow Kid
literally
don't hate on my boy Usopp either.
Usopp is questionably, depending on who you ask, the best or worst leader in the game.
Are you talking about Navy Usopp? The ones I've seen tons of lists online for it. It's very
strong. We'll see if they continue to stay online on next week if they continue to pop up. But because other than that, Sugar I really want to like, but when people know how to play against it, you just lose. Like you just don't attack and they don't ramp and then they don't get to do their curve anymore. Like cool, all right.
That's a round 1 through 5 deck right there.
Yeah, it's just like
like round 1 through 5 you're vibing.
What if you played purple Luffy?
You know everybody? Oh,
but
that's scary.
If your opponent says they're good at the game, you can't ramp anymore. Like all right.
Yeah, very well. Yeah.
Guess I should just play regular purple Luffy, and then I think that's mostly that. So we'll see. I think it is more like older leaders getting just kind of more support. I think a lot of good red cards dropped, and then again, the same leaders are getting, like, half of them are getting more support with, strict starter decks in like 2 months, which is going to be interesting to see. So they really
Love
want,
that. Let's go, Bonnie. We need help, man.
yeah,
Mhm.
Bonnie, they
We need
really
help
want
out here.
Shanks to be viable, it seems,
Yeah.
and Blackbeard. So cool. Well, thank you, Russell, and thank you, Jonas, for showing the list as well. Yeah, I sometimes you play Smoker and you're just like, this is, I'm in the pilot seat and it feels good.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's definitely a leader I'm gonna have to keep coming back to, because being a 12 Dawn leader in this game almost unconditionally is very, very attractive. So there's some really cool combos you get to do with it. So
Mhm.
cool. Well, I think that's gonna kind of wrap it up. It's just a little bit over an hour and 9 minutes, so about as much as I thought we'd be yapping. Any closing thoughts? We'll start with Russell.
It's gonna be a fun month of weird decks,
Mm-hmm.
and um, I don't know, to bring up the arguments a couple of top players were having from both the East and the West, which is like
Ooh.
the deck diversity makes for bad tournament experience against like fundamentals and like going into like a rogue meta or like unknown meta, right? I think both sides like have merit. Like I understand it's not having a best deck or a top three makes it more frustrating to like build and pilot around, or
Mm-hmm.
like a in general make your deck choice into this format. Um, but I think it's so much more fun to go through what we're all going through now, which is whether or not you're gonna pick a boring leader and be spicy, or just like, you know, plain nothing, simple looking consistent deck, and it just it brings up the concept that you like kind of tell to yourself. I had to tell myself all the time, right? Because I don't have nearly the accomplishments of like Jonas and or like Clyde when we have him on here.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
it's like once you figure out or like you define for yourself what you want to play for, then like you get to enjoy what you're going into a lot more. Like if you
Mm-hmm.
know you're a competitive player, I'm trying to top, then it's like, all right, you should be playing like this known strong leaders that we just talked about and going
Yeah,
through this
yeah,
list and like maybe be spicy about it. But if it's like, oh, I'm playing because I like and I enjoy the game, I enjoy competition, I want to play with this particular leader, and it's more fun into like this format. I think once you answer that question for yourself, the game gets a lot more fun.
yeah.
And or like you're like, I love crashing out. I love losing with Bonnie, and I'm like, all right, this sucks, man. Like, I enjoy the fact that I'm like, I'm an idiot for playing this deck. I'm running it back next week. I don't care if I go 6-3 again. And so, yeah, I think I think the fact that so many people are like scared is a lot more entertaining as well.
Yeah.
It should be fun. Like, it's a fun experience to go through for the game. So if you're feeling that way, one, you're not alone. Two, like, it's kind of cool. It's
Just
rather
write
than
it out. Write it
like
out.
this
Yeah.
picking up Dofi, and you're like, I know I should be playing Dofi right now. Like, we don't have a you should be playing this deck right now in this
Mm-hmm.
current format. We have like a pick between one of these four. If not, you can go crazy and dodge one of these other four. Right? It's,
Yeah.
yeah, kind of format.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun. And again, I sympathize with people who have a hard time with that, but I'm gonna enjoy a format while I can too, because there's so much up and downs with this that
Mm-hmm.
we won't be in this format forever. There will be likely another format in the future where one deck is clearly the best, which might be the next format.
Maybe it's like 1 or 2 months away. Who
Yeah,
knows?
perhaps even less than 4 weeks at this point. But
Yep.
Jonas, any closing thoughts?
Um, I do love this deck diversity idea,
Mm-hmm.
and I really like just like messing around with just like whatever I can at this point. I do understand a little bit of frustrations with players that just don't know what they're going to be playing,
Mm-hmm.
and I know how frustrating this weird like unknown purgatory between like set release and like the first big event has been like what 3 weeks already.
Yeah, it's already like longer than most, anyways, too.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
normally we have a big event in the first 2 weeks.
So, like moving forward, especially in these like future unknown events, I would love if like the first week or like the second week of a set, we just have the first big regional.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be way more miserable for us as people trying to figure out the best deck. But now we have some data to work with besides just like only like data or like sim data or like store regionals. So giving people that want to build in like these rogue environments with more like known metagames, while also kind of having this like brand new formula to work with, like having the best of both worlds is probably a good idea moving forward.
Yeah, and I like I'm super okay with being wrong, and I like being able to make claims like I think this is going to happen and this is not going to happen, and then just see like there you can be
Yeah.
like think, oh, I think this leader's kind of okay, right? Like you can have like these mediocre feelings, but to say again like I don't think Lim's going to top this weekend. Now I get to see, and I can be strictly right or wrong, right? And
Yeah.
and a lot of people have like that kind of mentality going into that, which is fun. And obviously if I'm wrong, I'll be like, yeah, I'm super wrong, and make a video going over the list verbatim, like.
Yeah.
So
It's fun to make like prediction and claims and not like attach your ego to said claim. And
yes,
when it goes against wrong and you're just like, well, X, Y, and Z happened, or like
yeah,
it's a lot more fun to be like, hey, you got me. Liv's crazy.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
I thought it next sucked.
There have been a lot of formats where I'm like, I personally don't think that this leader, like, it's crazy. I made a video like my first tier list, and then like it's like a 2 month old video, and then someone went back like comment from X, hey, I topped this weekend with this deck you thought was trash. I hope you like understand.
You take it personal.
Yeah, which is fun though, right? Like I'm not going to claim.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's their accomplishment, but to be
Yeah.
able to give people that fire, to be able to like double down on what they believe on is really fun. To see people just like stare at a card and just be like existentially like, is this card good or not? Like, is this card worth being in my deck or not? Like people just, you can tell they're zoned out, like just thinking of all the possibilities. It's nerve wracking, right? But especially again, I'm on more of like the commentator, like production data side. Is very entertaining. I have a lot of fun with it, and to see how it actually settles out is going to be a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yup.
Cool. Well, that's going to be our time and then some. Thank you guys very much for watching. Next team talk maybe around May, EBO2. We'll see maybe how things are going. These are generally just kind of on-set releases every once in a while, every month or two. But I appreciate both Russell and Jonas being available, and we'll do another one when you guys want. But thank you guys so much for watching. We really do appreciate it, and we'll catch you all next time.
Damn it.